It is truly my pleasure to greet you all. Hi, how are you guys doing? I know I'm not there. Hold on, chill, relax. I'm going. Technical difficulties, relax. All right. On the way. Hold on. Run in, run in. Hi. Your realtor Hugo here. How you doing? Hugo Quintanilla, licensed in Maryland with Long and Foster. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about legal considerations every real estate investor should know. So feel free and share the live with anyone that you know that might like some content like this. We do this every day, about 15 to 20 minutes a day, for you to learn about real estate and how it can impact you and those around you. So, like I said today, legal considerations, what you need to know legally about buying a property. So, number one, understand zoning laws. Make sure your property is in the right for your Make sure your property is in the right zone for your intended use. Zoning laws vary by area and can affect what you can and can't do with your property. Zoning laws are defined by different categories like commercial, residential, mixed use. These typically denote where the property can go. That's a certain type of property. So, for example, you're not going to put single family homes in the commercial district. You're not going to put boutiques in the industrial district. It's just you want to keep those segments separate, because if anyone has played Sims City or Cities Skyline, making a city in itself with all its different parts, all these different parts, industrial, commercial, residential, they all work together, because people live in the residential, but they need commercial to go and shop and entertain themselves. Industrial is what keeps everything running. And obviously, you have utilities and all this infrastructure that's underneath that also impacts what zoning laws are in effect for a certain city. So, making sure that the zoning laws are good for the use that you want to use is important. But this is more of an issue for commercial properties. Most residential clients, they're buying a residential home. So but always got to keep an eye. Number two, property title search. Ensure the property has a clear title with no legal disputes or liens. A title search can save you from future headaches. A title search is usually conducted by the title company, but again, it's one of those things where you want to do your due diligence as much as you can, because you never know where this all can lead to. The title insurance basically protects you from any fraud, in the sense that someone says, hey, this is my property, I'm going to sell it to you. You buy the property, and then 10 years down the line, so and so jolly wee dude shows up on the property and says, hey, this is my family's property. What are you doing here? I bought this property. When that happens, title insurance kicks in. It does a thorough investigation on what it is that happened, who is the rightful owner, and will hopefully protect anyone from losses because of a transaction like that. It could be a waste of time, in the sense that, you're falling for a fraud. You're falling for a fake transaction, so to speak. So it could take a long time to investigate this and get this sorted out. But at the end of the day, the important thing is that you have the insurance if it's made available to you, and that you're doing a title search with your title company to make sure that there are not any surprise liens or expenses left on the property. A lien cannot be on a property title, because if it is, you can't sell the property. A title has to be without anything. It has to be what's known as without a cloud on the title, is the proper expression. So there can't be any doubt whatsoever of who is the one that owns the property. And that's why it's so important to have a title search performed. Number 3, landlord-tenant laws. Know your rights and responsibilities as a landlord. This includes understanding lease agreements, security deposits, and eviction procedures. A proper landlord will know these things inside out. You just Never know when something like this can happen, but it's better to be safe than sorry. In particular, the eviction procedures, because a lot of landlords make the mistake of thinking that, hey, I saw it on TikTok, you could do this, this, and this. No, that's not how we're doing this. It's 2024. We're going to do things the right way, especially after lockdown. There are tons of new regulations in place to prevent stuff like this from happening. So, the Landlord Tenant Handbook, Montgomery County has it. It's in 8 different languages. Look it up. It is free. Feel free and read it, listen to it, check it out. It can save you a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of lawyer fees from having to get someone out of your property after a bad lease agreement. Number 4, Fair Housing Act compliance. Again, along the same lines of following landlord tenant laws, ensure you're not discriminating against potential tenants. Familiarize yourself with the Fair Housing Act to avoid any legal issues. The Fair Housing Act is there's no exceptions. It doesn't matter that you don't know the law, you are held liable for fair housing. It also does not matter that you didn't intend to discriminate against someone. It matters how the person felt. If a person feels discriminated against, that is enough to start a procedure against the agent or landlord in that particular city. So, discrimination is very, very serious. We do not discriminate based off sex, creed, religion, any of the protected classes, and then some. Because, as some of you know, the federal protected classes are very different than the state protected classes. Every state has its own protected classes, and Maryland and Montgomery County is actually one of the states that has the most protected classes. Truly, the only thing you can deny someone on in Maryland is a credit score. So, number 5, property taxes. Be aware of the property tax rates in Gaithersburg and Rockville. High taxes can affect your investment return. If the taxes are too high, people are less likely to move into the home because they already have to be more affluent to be able to maintain the maintenance costs. Sometimes just the land in a certain part of town is thousands of dollars a year. You go into Potomac, some of these areas over in the richer part of town, you're talking about at least 10 to 20,000 a year in just taxes, just for the property just standing there, just for it looking pretty, just there. Actually, it's not even the building, it's the land. So you're paying taxes on the land. If anybody really wants to get into the nitty gritty of that, but at the end of the day, it can impact who goes into the property into the future. So keep an eye on property taxes. They change. So that's another thing too. They change yearly. So make sure you're keeping an eye on it because those are those expenses that do fluctuate. There are certain expenses you can control, but an expense like property taxes or your insurance cost, which we've been seeing a lot recently, those are both things that are fluctuating. Number 6, insurance requirements. Protect your investment with the right insurance. This includes property insurance and if you have a tenant, liability insurance. Do not use your homeowner's insurance while you're leasing. If anything happens, let me roll that back. Do not use your homeowner's insurance to cover a tenant that's leasing your property. It doesn't necessarily have to be you. Don't use your direct homeowner's insurance to cover that tenant. Why? Your policy doesn't cover leasing. It actually explicitly says it doesn't cover it because you're not the homeowner. The tenant is not the homeowner. The tenant can easily just burn the place down if they want to. There's no liability. The tenant is only necessarily responsible for having renter's insurance, which only covers their belongings. Some renter's insurance policies are less than $100,000. That's nothing to recuperate somebody's life. A home policy is upwards of $300,000. So it's triple the value of any property and then some sometimes. So one of the biggest sins that people make in insurance is getting overcovered or overpaying for coverage they don't need or underpaying and being at risk because they're not covered the right way. So talk to an insurance professional. Sometimes they're not trying to sell you on a policy. It's just the way the policies are written. That if this, and this happen, then we'll pay. But if this, and this happens, mm-mm. So I want to keep an eye on that because that's really where it hurts. Number 7, local licensing and permits. Check if you need any special licenses or permits to rent out your property. This can include rental licenses and permits for renovations. Permits for renovations take forever in this county. Take your time and work with a contractor that knows the process of getting these permits done ASAP. The sooner those permits can be done, the easier your construction will go, the smoother the whole process will go. And county has no problem dropping by. They have been at many a place where I've gone and all of a sudden just dropped in when they see people working. So be very careful of starting work before getting permits. Make sure you verify everything in your particular city and county, but the sooner you can get that paperwork started, the better. Number 8, HOA rules and regulations. If your property is in a community with a homeowners association, HOA, understand their rules. These can impact how you manage and use the property. The biggest gripe that people have with HOAs is that you can't do anything with the property. That can be true. But the fact of the matter is that you have to confer with the HOA. You have to ask the HOA. Sometimes it's not a big deal. Sometimes, you'll be able to paint whatever color you want. It's not a big deal. You'll be able to change the doors, change this, change that. You'll be fine. Sometimes it's a very big issue. You are only allowed certain colors. You're only allowed certain manufacturers, and you're only allowed a certain vendor to go and do the work. It can be very frustrating sometimes to work in these communities. Now, these communities that have HOAs also maintain their home value higher and longer in over history than other places. And that's why we're seeing so many communities actually start to implement HOAs because truly an HOA, a homeowners association, is made by the community, made by homeowners that all live in the community and care about the community. So they want to maintain the prestige of that community, so to speak. And that sometimes can be great. But again, remember, we don't want to cross that line between fair housing and a violation. So when it comes to HOAs, you got to be careful that your HOA isn't violating anybody else's fair housing rights. Number 9, environmental regulations. Be aware of environmental laws that might affect your property. This includes restrictions on renovations and the handling of hazardous materials. Environmental regulations are across the board. They're pretty much standard. No dumping, no waste. There are some states that are a little more lenient, I believe, than here. But here they will tax you for anything. So don't even try it. Try to figure out the easiest way to get rid of hazardous materials. Do not use the storm drain. If anyone finds out that you're doing that on the storm drain, that could be a big issue. Number 10, legal structure for ownership. My co-host has arrived. Hello there, Fluffy. Number 10, legal structure for home ownership. Decide on the best legal structure for owning your investment property. This could be an individual, LLC, or corporation, each with its own legal and tax implications. So make sure you're doing your research before you start the structure so that you're not paying undue taxes. Remember, an LLC is not free. It can give you benefits, but just creating it is a cost. Maintaining it is a cost. Make sure you're making enough money to cover the LLC and the tax implications that LLC will have. Because remember, you do owe taxes on the money you make in that LLC, apart from your personal taxes. All right. So if you're just joining us, as my faithful co-host is, we are talking today about legal considerations every real estate investor should know. And number 1 was understanding zoning laws. Number 2, property title search. Number 3, landlord-tenant laws. Number 4, Fair Housing Act compliance. Number 5, property taxes. Number 6, insurance requirements. Number 7, local licensing and permits. Number 8, HOA rules and regulations. Number 9, environmental regulations. And number 10, legal structure for home ownership. That's the long and the short of it, ladies and gentlemen. It is not difficult to purchase a home. You just have to do your research. You can't rely 100% on your realtor because, as a realtor, we're human. Stuff happens. But find yourself a realtor that takes a lot of the stress out of the process for you. A lot of this stuff, most people don't know. Most people will never know. Most people won't investigate, won't find out. I've gone through whole transactions, never bringing up any of these topics. Um, that being said, knowing this stuff makes you a better investor, makes you a more profitable investor, and makes your properties cash flow better. So I hope you all have a great Tuesday. Thank you for all the love and support. I really do appreciate you all. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take care. Have a great day.